I won't say it's just an India problem. It's a lot of multilingual countries, right? So Middle East, Southeast Asia. If you go to typically they are bilingual. Like they will have English as a primary language, and then they'll have a local language, which is the main language that they use, right? India obviously is much more diverse and it's more nuances because you have every region has its own, right? So beyond Hindi, Urdu, Bangla, you have Gujarati, Marathi, Kannada, Tamil, so on, right?
Yeah.
So those and almost everywhere you have like English kind of a construct where people are speaking two language at a time. So the problem that you're solving from an LLM perspective is not just a translation or a knowing the intent kind of a problem. It's more of
How people speak.
And kind of how do you map that to what is actually required as an outcome, right? So that becomes a bit more nuanced, and that's why the solution is more India centric or the country centric rather than building a general purpose LLM and then trying to solve a problem. Right?
And we've seen this with voice bots that you and I, we've gotten, calls over the last few months where an AI calling and they're trying to speak Hindi, but the Hindi they speak is too formal.
Yeah.
So if I can switch to Hindi for a few seconds, you might get a call where an insurance agent, voice agent is calling you and saying, हमें कुछ औपचारिकताएं संपूर्ण करनी है. And nobody really talks like that. We say formalities complete करनी है, right? So that difference of how language is used versus formally how it's supposed to be used. And if you switch to Hindi, you speak completely in Hindi, but that doesn't really translate to how we talk in everyday language, right? And that's part of the problem.
Yeah, and that's the data I was saying which is kind of sparse, right? Like actually getting those call data, which is Indian customers or English customer, for instance, talking to a call center. You need that data to train on to kind of learn that to be able to converse like that, right? Which is missing, and it will take a lot of time to kind of get that kind of an access for all the regional languages and get that scale. So one aspect is kind of missing that data, and the second is the resources required to use that data and then kind of train something specific to that region and kind of scale it for that region, right? So monetarily it has to make sense where the investment that goes into it is returned in terms of like let's say if we have a company like ChatGPT in India, it would require that kind of a return to compete with ChatGPTs globally, right?
Right.
That's where there's a lack of resources, I would say, where you
and perhaps a lack of demand also driving it because the rest of the world is adopting ChatGPT.
Yes, yeah.
So only for the use cases where we are so dramatically different that the OpenAI APIs or any other competitor doesn't work for us. And one great example of that is self-driving in India, right?
Yes.
I don't know, some of you might have seen the -1 video where they're launching a self-driving car in India, in the streets of India, with all the noise and the chaos that we've known Indian roads for. It's a very different problem than the autopilot on Tesla, right? It's almost like a completely different game that we're playing, right? So having a model there makes a lot of sense because I think that problem probably translates to a Thailand and a Vietnam and a Cambodia and a bunch of other markets around the world, except for the Western world where there is general coherence in how traffic is managed and generally people following the rules. Here it's all over the place, right? So a self-driving car built for India from the ground up would be a very good idea.
Again, so it's also a matter of prioritization, I would say, right? So as a country, I think we're trying to solve too many things in parallel and kind of trying to, like, for instance, Aadhaar or UPI, right? We have done a really great job. We're probably ahead of the world in some of those aspects. But before you build, let's say, a good banking system, you need those bases to kind of get that inclusion, get that scale. I think same thing will go for a self-driving car, right? I mean, do we have a unified driving license system? We don't. We have very sparse state-wise implementations and things like that, right?
Right.
So it's trying to solve a lot of problems at once. It's not just a problem of having a car which can understand traffic better, but it's also having a compliance framework in place. If there is something wrong with that self-driving, who do you go after? How do you ensure there is people responsible, taking responsibility, accountability for it.
Yeah.
So those aspects also come into picture. So see, not everyone needs everything at the same time, right? There is some people like the need in US might be self-driving cars.
Yeah.
In India, it might be something different, might be better electric car framework, right? So, and over the years, you will catch up and you will kind of maybe go ahead, be better than US in terms of infrastructure. So it's a matter of prioritization as well. And I think same thing goes back to LLMs, our own LLMs as well, right? There's a lot of customer problems to be solved before you want to go deeper and kind of solve an infra problem. I think, and that has been the focus for most of the companies or most of the startups in India. But then obviously sooner or later we will get there. We will get to a point where there is enough resources available, and then you have enough customer problem solved. Now you have to solve the infra problem, and that's where the world is, or as a community we are moving towards.